move on to the next item, which is item 36, which is a resolution recognizing the Central Coast Veterans Memorial Museum upon their 21st year of education, history, community, and preservation. And I'd ask Bart Topham to come forward to the podium, and Supervisor Arnold is going to do the honors today.
This is an honor to be able to read this resolution. The Veterans Memorial Museum here in San Luis County is another treasure, and I encourage anyone that hasn't had a chance to visit, you'll be amazed at what these volunteers have put together in this museum. This resolution is recognizing the Central Coast Veterans Memorial Museum on their 21st anniversary, and it reads as follows. Whereas the Central Coast Veterans Memorial Museum is celebrating their 21st anniversary of honoring and remembering our veterans from past and present, with emphasis on those from the Central Coast of California, ensuring that past sacrifices made by the men and women who served in the U.S. Armed Forces will not be forgotten. And whereas the Central Coast Veterans Memorial Museum is a publicly supported history museum, an educational organization with the long-term goal of preserving historic artifacts, recording oral histories, and sharing the history of American veterans for the benefit of local veterans, their families, local schools, and future generations to learn, research, and reflect on, while also serving as a repository for community members across the region to thoughtfully donate personal veterans artifacts, military artifact collections, and historical memorabilia. And you have some amazing, amazing things there. Whereas the Central Coast Veterans Memorial Museum is the designated location of the Central Coast of California for recording video and audio oral history interviews with men and women who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces, primarily from the Central Coast region, in partnership with the Library of Congress to support a nationwide veterans history project through which our local Veterans Museum has recorded over 500 interviews, with 420 preserved in the Library of Congress's National Archives as a history record of Americans' veterans' experiences. And whereas the Central Coast Veterans Memorial Museum, which is solely operated by volunteer support of individuals residing across the county of San Luis Obispo and northern Santa Barbara County, has maintained and continued to work towards museum industry standards, displaying year-round interactive and instructional exhibits presenting curated collections of photos, uniforms, helmets, equipment, medals, badges, maps, posters, weapons, personal veterans artifacts, and keepsakes taken in battle, illustrating unique veteran experiences, extraordinary heroism, and remembrance and loss, and our shared American military history since World War I, for history education and reflection for our veterans, their families, youth, tourists, and the public. And whereas the Central Coast Veterans Memorial has maintained and expanded a wall of honor for 21 years, displaying bronze tribute plaques designed by individuals and families to honor and remember the sacrifices and experiences of individual veterans from across San Luis Obispo County, the expanded Central Coast region, and elsewhere, carrying on each of their legacies. And whereas the Central Coast Veterans Memorial Museum is dedicated to continue their efforts as a Veterans History Museum and educational organization, honoring and remembering our veterans while serving as a gathering place and creating a community for the 17,000 plus young and aging veterans of San Luis Obispo County, along with their families, veterans organizations, and community supporters, promoting messages and appreciation and recognition in support of all veterans' well-being, mental health, and life successes after service. Now therefore be it resolved and ordered that the Board of Supervisors of the County of San Luis Obispo, State of California, does hereby recognize the Central Coast Veterans Memorial Museum on its 21st anniversary and its 2 decades of honoring and remembering our veterans from past and present, with emphasis on those from the Central Coast of California.
You know, I'm really thrilled that VET and the VSO were recognized this morning because they provide, as we've noted, a very vital service to our veterans. And the catch, though, is that it's a very private service. But next door to them is a facility that doesn't have to be private. It gets to take that next step to honor, to educate, to memorialize, and to remember. And that's what we do in the most public way we can. 21 years ago, a small group of veterans decided that we needed a place to remember and to honor our veterans. And out of their own pockets, they established this museum. And out of their own pockets, they ran this museum for its first few years until we could, get more recognition and support. Today, we belong to several museum associations. We have raised the bar in a number of significant ways, and all of these volunteers work to provide the best experience, not just for people to come and see and learn through displays and interactive electronic devices that we've added, but to be educated about the sacrifices that have been made by our veterans, particularly our Central Coast veterans. We now provide outreach programs, weekly spotlights of veterans, educational programs, quarterly speaker programs. We bring together veterans for special recognition programs like we did with 32 Korean veterans just recently. With the help of the VSO, together we brought the wall that heals to San Luis Obispo. All of this to educate and promote the recognition and honoring of our veterans. And in October, we'll be celebrating our 21st anniversary with a little USO themed dinner on the 8th of October. And then on Veterans Day, we'll have an open house, and we're working in conjunction with the Vietnam Veterans of America and the National Vietnam Veterans War Recognition Committee and the Department of Defense to present a Vietnam-themed display that will illustrate, talk about the Vietnam War, the people that were in it, why it occurred, and hopefully to help recognize and educate folks because we have a lot of people come in that have no idea about what's been done in their name and why. So again, thank you for your longtime support and thank you for this recognition.
Any additional public comment? Seeing none, we'll close that, bring it back to the board for comments. Supervisor Arnold.
Yep, I just want to say thank you once more, and I hope that everyone listening, pick a rainy afternoon or some day that you're thinking, I want to just go look at something that I haven't seen before, because you will be amazed. And the displays and the amount of material that they have in the museum is incredible. You'll be taken in and you'll just kind of be lost for the rest of the day, I promise. So all the things to look at and learn from. So thank you. And Bart, to all the volunteers, I know you all work really hard and you've been dedicated to that museum for a very long time. Thank you.
Supervisor Ortiz-Lake.
Yeah, I really liked what you said, Bart, in regards to the privacy of what goes on in one part of the building, and then to have the celebration in the other part of sense. I mean, really having all of the materials there, each time we visit, we get a chance to learn something new, see another story of somebody's life. And it's just such a remarkable effort that you've done in creating a very vibrant community center that I look forward to every time we have an event or something. So congratulations on the success.
Supervisor Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Topham, Mr. Mueller, for being with us today. The program of the museum most meaningful to me is your collection and continued recording of oral histories of veterans. And I'm proud to say that my World War II veteran late fathers is in that collection. And as you listen to those stories, particularly of the greatest generation, you hear tales of the horrors of war and you hear tales of heroism, but there's also a quieter message in there that I think is really important for the public, and that is those men and women who served in that era speak to an idea of service, an idea of love of country, an idea of commitment to one's fellow citizens that is very different from what we hear in the noise of the current day. And it's striking to me the simple understanding that service was what a citizen needed to do, and the extraordinary lengths that men and women, especially in World War II, went to render that service. So I thank you for preserving them. I'm very glad that you're connected with the Library of Congress, where these things will live in our country's history forever, and I appreciate your presence here in San Luis Obispo.
Supervisor Paulding?
Thank you, Chair. Again, Bart, thank you for being here. Thanks to all the volunteers that keep the museum alive. It truly has been impressive to watch it grow in its programs and everything that you do for our community. So thank you so much.
And I, too, will thank the volunteers. It couldn't be, without the volunteers, it would not be possible for that museum to exist. So there's a lot of hours in that from the people that work there and do teach history. They teach history to people. And I would back up what Supervisor Arnold said, is if you haven't been to this museum, you need to go, and you need to go soon. And you should support this museum because it does need our support. So thank you.